Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so this Jay-Z situation is continuing on. I figured I'd chime in a little bit more. Essentially, he's preparing himself for multiple accusers, it seems to me. Not just the one that we're hearing about, but could potentially be a male coming out here also saying that Jay-Z did something that he shouldn't have done when he was underage. So, I don't know, man. It's looking crazy. But you have to wonder how Jay's playing it, if it's in his best interest to go about fighting this in the court of public opinion, or if he wouldn't be better off letting people get their money under the table and just settling out. But see, when you have a situation where one accuser comes out and you settle with that person, now the word gets out that you're willing to settle. Now anybody who wants to accuse you is going to just drain you of all your wealth. One by one, the piranhas just come out. So maybe this is the lesser of the two evils for his circumstance, he believes. Watching how Puffy's situation played out, I'm sure there was a lot of data to take from that on how to handle situations or not handle situations. And you consider the settlement that he paid out to Cassie, and then to only find out that it didn't save him from all of the scrutiny that came afterward. He would have did better keeping his money in his pocket, in his, if you're him. So that's kind of what I think is Jay is kind of reacting to some of that, how that played out. Figured just if they're gonna come out here air me out anyway, I might as well keep my money in my pocket, save it for the fight in court. So I don't know, man. Far be it for me to be certain what people are doing in the dark. I think at the end of the day, the story sounds so damn outlandish that one would think that it's not believable. But because it's so outlandish, that may be why someone would be willing to do something like this, because you wouldn't believe it if I told you. It's that kind of conundrum there in regards to whether or not you want to believe the story that's being alleged out there. So can I see Puffy and Jay-Z actually doing something like that? No. And that might be all that needs to be the case for them to be so bold as to do something like that, because they know people can't imagine, can't see it. Ain't no way. You know what I mean? So you can get away with it. So that's why I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I'm not in the mindset that I'm going to co-sign anything that stranger may or may not be doing and be certain of their character just because of their image. That's not a smart way to look at things, especially when you're aware of how Hollywood uses think tanks and PR firms to help mold their image. When you're aware of how that works, like I believe I am, you don't have too much faith in these people being what it is that image has proven itself to be. No. And so I don't know if Jay-Z's a bad guy or a sicko, but what I can say is, if there are going to be multiple accusers, he's in for a massive fight. And in these situations, it usually is. It's a piranha effect. That's basically what comes to mind. One accuser begets a million, and they all come out, and they all want money, and they all want to see you in jail. And if you have a million of those stories saturating your name, it becomes a situation where people believe it just because of the sheer nature of how many of them it is. Problem is, that formula has been used a lot. So, am I to believe that that's not a formula that has been reused over and over again to take down people? Have a million people come out, so to speak, and saturate their name with accusations that all sound egregious and horrible in nature? Then it becomes a conversation of how many people am I to believe are serial in nature in regards to what they do? Because if you keep telling me all these superstars are serial SAers and R-worders, then I have to look at the data of non-celebrities that profile that way after proving to be that, to kind of gauge on how realistic it is that Jay-Z, Puffy, R. Kelly, and anybody else all profiles to be some out of control serial R-worder. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the data that I need to know if I'm looking at this correctly. Because to me, it seems like they're trying to sell, assuming that this is a frame job, assuming that they're trying to take this person down. For the sake of that being what's going on here, they sure are overusing the piranha effect, is what I will say. They worked with Bill Cosby. A million people from a million years ago all came out at once saying this man did a bunch of stuff that they never told anybody about at the same time. And they use it on Puffy. Now they want to use it on Jay. At some point in time, I keep saying, when it comes to stuff like this, you got to switch your formula up. Because if you're going to keep on using the same formula over and over again, you're going to start finding out it becomes less and less believable. And more likely that we're seeing an imprint of a certain intention that is lazy in regards to switching up its formula and bringing people down. And that's what I would say. Am I to assume that all the biggest stars who have access to people keeping their secrets in safe, and they got whole camps behind them that'll allow their secrets to stay hidden for so long, all of a sudden those camps just stop doing their job, and now all of a sudden all the piranhas, everybody that they ever did anything to, victimize or what have you, is all coming out at once, each and every one of these cases, with each and every one of these subjects? It seems a bit, put it like this, they've been able to get away with it. They've been able to convince everybody that this is not a pattern or a formula. But my brain tells me that this is a bit sketchy. Now that we're seeing it for the fourth time on the fourth different black superstar, that's worth over $100+ million or more. So they're all sickos that all have 90 people that they've all victimized, even though they have their pick of the litter from people who would otherwise be consensual with them. They just have to have somebody that doesn't want it all the time. And they're so reckless as to allow this to pile up. And all of those people are all equally too afraid to speak until at a random moment when everybody speaks at once. You know what I'm saying? It gets to a point where it's like, all right, you want me to buy this, but now I've seen it for the fourth time and it's the same thing. So, are they all sickos in the same way? And does that ratio of sickos and celebrities that profile this way line up with the ratio of sickos that we find in the regular world? Am I going to find as many sick, twisted people that are like this? Or is it only celebrities that are profiled this way at this rate? You understand what I'm saying? Like 1 out of every 4 celebrity black men who's made over $200 million, it suddenly turns out to be someone that has this in their past. How many times y'all gonna use this? Is essentially what I'm saying to you. How many times y'all gonna use this? Until it doesn't work anymore, right? That's why I'm inclined to believe that, we need to be careful not to shame or not believe victims as they come forward, especially if they're underage. You definitely don't want to be the person that's saying it's not true when it is true, and there are some sickos out there who would do stuff like this, and you need to be careful not to give them opportunity to get away with this, so you better take down the celeb, and all these different things are real. And I think those who put this scenario in place know that, and they're plucking at that in regards to making it ironclad that they bring these people down. So that's what I think. I think they back everybody into a cultural corner, so where it's culturally acceptable to force a person to prove their innocence and assume they're guilty in these circumstances. It's culturally deplorable that the people, not only who are victims, be just human beings in general, but even worse, that they're underage. right? So it's ironclad. You can ruin a person's image by having 100 cases of underage victims come out at once saying that you're all a bad guy and that you did an effective job of keeping all of them quiet for so long and they were so afraid of you. It's like, you can ruin anybody with that. You could literally put that on anybody and ruin anybody. You see what I'm saying? I guess that's where I'm coming from. They can apply that to any man, woman in the public image right now. And at some point in time, I look at the people behind the curtain who are likely applying this, and I just say, are you sure you don't want to switch it up? Because as I always say about every situation and everything, every art has its DNA of the artist in it. And I keep telling people, like, it's patterns that are going to be left behind in the things that you do that tells people who are intelligent enough and who are familiar enough with your work that it's you behind it. Or that you're copycatting somebody specific. You see what I'm saying? And when it comes to certain things, especially stuff like this that they believe is ironclad, a lot of times they underestimate, or maybe even properly estimate, the stupidity of the masses. That's what I'm saying to you. And of course, there are always individuals who are not going to be a part of that, for which slip through the cracks and are basically considered naysayers in the presence of something that is just deplorable, and how dare they not believe the victim, right? That's what ends up happening to the people who otherwise see through the bull crap. That's essentially what I'm saying to you. When it comes to this Jay-Z thing, for all I know, he is a serial R-worder who's been keeping people quiet by way of bullying for a long time. And now one person got the courage to tell the truth about him, and now all of them are coming out. Just like Puffy, just like Bill Cosby. You see what I'm saying? It's like any other black billionaire in entertainment that they want to bring down. Maybe a couple of these instances are true, but the compounding of incidences speaks to me a certain type of depravity that I don't think you're going to find as common as you're finding these stories. That's basically what I'm saying to you. I don't know that you're going to find this many people that profile that psychologically in that way, as much as you're going to find these stories pop up. and because of it, I'm starting to wonder if I should believe any of this. Or more so, trust my gut when I say this is an artist that's leaving his imprint behind on everything that he does, and it's probably the same guy or the same people behind all of these things. Because that a Piranha effect, that's ironclad, bro. Underage, SA, R-word, trigger words. You put that on anybody's name and all of a sudden they're the worst person in the world. You can convince the world that the greatest person that's ever proven himself to be great is an awful human being just by attaching all that to their names and having enough people coming out saying they did these things. You know what I'm saying? In a skeptical world where we found many monsters hidden in the closet. So, I don't... In a nutshell, as it pertains to the specifics of Jay-Z, I believe that he's capable of this just as much as any other person that I don't know is capable of any other thing that I don't know. You know what I'm saying? This is not about me not believing this because Jay-Z is Jay-Z and he would never. Anybody would ever, as far as I can tell. I don't know what y'all do in your dark nights times. I don't know what devils y'all got in your spirit or whatever. I don't know anybody. I know myself. That's it. When it comes to people doing their dark, it comes to how deplorable they can be in their practices, who knows, bro? Unless you're in there with them, you don't know. But what I will say is, here we go again with the same imprint. The Piranha effect. The ironclad, this is just so horrible that I would not dare not believe it. I'm not buying it this time. Because I'm seeing it too much, and I'm sensing the same artist behind it. Or a copycat. I'm not buying it. And because I'm not buying it, I'm starting to think that Puffy ain't as bad as they say he is. Even though I think Puffy's probably did some stuff he has no business doing, and he left himself out here looking crazy because of the stuff that we know that he did do, half of those stories are probably not true. Half of the way that those stories that are true are painted are probably exaggerated. Probably more than half at this point. And that's why I tell everybody who's aiming to be a billionaire, aiming to be at the top of the capitalistic totem pole, you gotta understand something. The game is rigged. The people who found themselves at the top, a lot of them did not earn their way there. They were inheriting that. They inherited that. A lot of this money is old money. The biggest, baddest companies in the world, these people didn't build nothing from the ground up. So when somebody does build something from the ground up and brings a threat to their generational rigging of the game / wealth / power, you damn right they got the game sold up to where they saturate you out of it. They pull you out of it like a weed in a garden. They will remove those organic growth machines of wealth like as if you're some type of cancer in a body that needs to otherwise remain alive. This is how they do it, to keep what they have going so that they can pass it forward to their kids just like it was passed to them from generations past. And then when you come up and you can reach a certain point, once you start knocking on the door to where you can start looking like you can rig the game for yourself or against them, that's when they start going into DEFCON 1 as it pertains to bringing you down. They do not want that wealth transfer, especially in the black hands. I'm telling you they don't. They don't want that. Because if they can't rig the game, then they get exposed for all the evil that they've done, their great-grandparents done, their great-great-great-great-grandparents have done, and it becomes a situation where they may get held accountable for that, and they fear that deeply. They fear that deeply. So if you look like you're about to knock on that door, where you're about to go into that space where you can pass generational wealth and cheating of the rigging of the game to your kids, and you're not one of them, and you don't have that chosen blood, I'd imagine this is what it looks like when they try to get rid of you. Imagine it looks just like this. But what they're going to find out is, what they're going to come to find out is that the people who are beholding all of this are evolving. So if they don't figure out more sneaky, more effective weapons of doing so, it's going to start to show that that is what it is. Hence the conversation we're having here. Hence exactly what my brain is. A detector of their bullshit. A detector of their DNA within the behaviors of their actions. Also known as the art that they do. I sense you back there. That doesn't mean that Jay-Z didn't R-word someone young. It means that he probably didn't R-word all of the people that you're throwing at us to believe he did that. Now, should he be thrown away for what he did do? Absolutely. I will never argue that a person who's guilty of even one count of that shouldn't go to jail for the rest of their entire life. No doubt. But that you would throw the piranha effect at us to double down and triple down on the effect is something that I'm starting to understand is not organic. It's not organic. And that's what I want those who follow me to understand if you're part of that clan that ultimately wants to do this. I don't doubt that you have a lot to fear as it pertains to people like Jay-Z reaching your status or being able to tumble forward a process from which wealth transfer takes place. You got a lot to be concerned about in regards to that. And maybe you may feel it's necessary to protect yourself and your people against that. That's your business. I can't speak to your context of what you're doing. But what I can say is you need to start getting smarter about how you do it. Because this may be working in 2024, but it probably won't work in 2034. And if you're going to pass everything to 3034, you had better start evolving as people do. And not just continuing to use the same old stuff, try to bring down the same old darkies that happen to find themselves at the top, but not quite where they want to go as it pertains to reaching where you're at from which you were placed. Do not think for 1 second that we don't see you or sense you there. There are a few of us who do. BDL 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.